The fifth and final step to successful unlearning is about applying and reinforcing your unlearned concepts. Okay, that sounds a little bit bizarre, doesn't it? Because normally we talk about applying and reinforcing new ways of working, and what I'm talking about is applying and reinforcing unlearned concepts. And what I mean by that is actually practically not about applying what you know or the new things that you've learned and the new tools and techniques that you've learned. It's about actively unapplying your previous ways of working. What do I mean by that? To try and put it simply, and to use the example that I used way back in the first couple of videos of, we're going down a new route and we've got to go to a new destination. Maybe we've got a new job, then we're going to a new place of work. What we have to do is we have to remind ourselves every time we get in the car that we are going down this new road. We are telling ourselves, we are using techniques to remind ourselves that we are going down this new road. We are not going to turn right here. We are going to go on this new road. Now, what that may mean practically is that you might set an alert on your GPS, on your phone, on your sat nav. You might set an alert so that when you get to a particular junction, then your alarm will go off, or your GPS, your sat nav, Siri in my case, might actually say to you, don't go right here, go straight on. Okay. You might want to set yourself a reminder, something to nudge you. And in fact, we're going to look at nudging when it comes to organizational change in another video. But something to nudge you and to remind you that this is the way that you need to go. It's reminding you not to do the old thing and not to follow the old way of working or to follow the old route. So yes, this step does involve applying new principles, and it does involve applying new practices and new ways of working and applying your new training, but it also involves reinforcing your unlearning and reinforcing that archiving of all of those skills that you had and all of those previous processes. And so this is about continuous practice. This is about using triggers to prevent you from going down that old route. So in this particular step, in step 5, we're going to learn about different techniques and different strategies, etc., for ensuring that you don't go on autopilot and that you don't slip back into the old way of working. So we're going to learn about how we measure progress, not on new ways of working, but how you can measure progress on not using an old way of working. And I know that it sounds a little bit bizarre, and it's probably a completely different concept to what you have learnt before. And when we talk about continual improvement and we talk about organizational change management, we all too often focus on the new without putting any focus on the old. And it's the old that will prevent us from moving to the new. So it's the old concepts and the old way of working that we really have to pay close attention to. So what we do in this particular step is when we implement new strategies, we implement them in controlled environments. And we implement them in ways where we, remember that safe environment that we talked about in the previous step, where we encourage mistakes. And then what we also are going to do during step 5 is that we're going to create an action plan for what to do in certain circumstances. And that means, again, that safe environment where you can acknowledge that this is where I quite often get stuck. This is where I tend to go down the old road. It's not here, it's here. This is where my problem is. And that might be different from everybody else. And there are going to be a lot of disparate ways of doing things that people had adopted in the past that have to be unlearned. And again, it's about acknowledging what you did in the past and saying, okay, this is what I did. And this is what's going to keep me doing that. And then enforcing ways and using strategies and techniques to prevent you from doing that. You've archived that old way of working. Now you have to concentrate on the new. So what you're going to do during step 5 is that in a controlled environment, you are going to successfully unlearn your old ways. But you're also going to acknowledge and accept that sometimes you are going to go down the wrong road. Sometimes you are going to need a prompt. And so during step 5, you put measures in place, and you will put little triggers in place to prevent you from doing that. So step 5 is about application. It's about reinforcing. But it's not just about reinforcing the new. It's also about reinforcing, unlearning the old.